if we remember James Holmes, he was the suspect in the Colorado theater shooting, the Dark Knight shooting. And yesterday in court, the judge accepted his plea of not guilty by reason of insanity. And in doing so, they've now been ordered to release a notebook that he sent to his psychiatrist, who he had only met with one time. He had sent this notebook, and nobody knows what's in it. They think that it's actually going to kind of hurt his case, but the defense can't have it both ways. According to the law, if they want a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity, his mental health comes into question, and they have to, it breaks that doctor-patient confidentiality ruling, and they have to look at all of the things that happened between him and his psychiatrist. We already know that 6 weeks prior to the shooting, he told his psychiatrist that he was experiencing homicidal thoughts. And his psychiatrist reported that to campus police, but we're still unclear as to whether or not campus police actually did anything following that.
God. This is kind of a serious story for the Supreme Court, but I am curious what everybody thinks, so I'm going to go ahead and drop it. Okay?
Okay.
So.
Yeah, we're not in the graphic. I know. I complained about this yesterday.
So the court is in session, though, and,
Okay.
and you are honored to be fellow justices here today. What do you think, Jimmy? I mean, insanity plea on this guy. I mean, he's crazy, and we I'm not surprised by that. But at the same time, isn't anybody who does a mass murder at least a little crazy? So what are we going to do? Not put any of them in jail?
Well, before he did the shooting, he did order a jumbo popcorn, and that's insane because nobody can finish that.
Okay,
So
well, you haven't seen my nephews.
no, you know what? I was actually glad to hear that the judge accepted. I was afraid that it wouldn't, because that's the way he is obviously insane. That guy was obviously insane, which is why he shouldn't have access to weapons and firearms and 100-round clips and high-powered assault rifles. That's why. So because insane people. So he's obviously insane, and he's like Hinckley or whatever, and they should put him away in a mental hospital and never let him out.
And that's the thing. I mean, sometimes when you're found criminally insane, the sentence is actually worse than otherwise. In this case, I mean, he's facing 166 counts of first-degree murder, attempted murder, and weapons charges. So he would get the needle. He would get the needle if he's found guilty.
And he ripped the tag off his mattress.
This is terrible. But if you're found criminally insane, generally speaking, depending on the state, but generally speaking, you are sentenced to spend your time in a mental institution, a high-security mental institution for the criminally insane, until you are deemed well enough to re-enter society, which oftentimes, actually most times studies have shown, the sentencing is actually longer in the institution for the criminally insane than the actual real sentence if you haven't
So
run on
it
that.
depends on the crime. So if it's like if you were shoplifting and you went with the I'm criminally insane.
Yeah, you're screwed.
Bad idea.
Bad idea.
Because they're like, no, you really are. We can't let you out for like decades. And you would have been out in like 30 days, right? But if in the case of James Holmes,
he'd get the needle.
I mean, at the very least, if he was convicted, he would never get out again.
But Colorado has the death penalty. I mean, this guy.
I mean, again, if this guy doesn't get the death penalty, who does?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So now, on the other hand, Your liberal position is, I mean, he is crazy, we should put him in a mental hospital. But, they could say some period of time later, I mean, there'll be politics involved here, let's keep it real, right? So there'll be an incentive not to say it, but they could say, he's well enough, 12 years from now, let's let him out, because he's well enough.
Well, and that's the real question is the purpose of our Justice Department. I mean, I think that it's twofold. One is to protect the citizens from dangerous criminals, and the other is this kind of old school Hammurabi eye for an eye situation. This, you need to do penance for the crimes that you committed. If the case is that he was criminally insane, that he spent the next 40 years of his life in an institution for the criminally insane, he was rehabilitated, put on the right medication, really well controlled, and would never ever commit a crime again, would justice have been served?
Well, then we could kill him. If as soon as he gets sane again.
Well, that would be double jeopardy. I don't think you can do that.
There'd be a slight issue with that. I hear you.
Slight legal issue.
I'm not a lawyer.
I know.
This is the second hour.
Apparently not.
Okay. All right. Look, there's that vengeance part of me, and I'm a bad guy about it, and this is part of why I call myself a progressive, but not necessarily a liberal. And I don't want to see that guy out. I mean, if he killed one of my family members, and then he's going to be, now he's well enough.
Yeah, I just think that it's highly unlikely that if he is found guilty or not guilty, by reasons of insanity that he's ever going to see the light of day again. I think it's highly unlikely.
I know, but you're taking a chance.
You are taking a chance. That's true.
Hinckley gets weekend. Doesn't he get weekends to see?
Oh, definitely. He
Hinckley
does.
shot the president. They let him out now.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, he didn't kill him. Okay, he was a
Yeah,
bad
and he didn't
shot.
murder 17 people.
Right.
Yeah. So I know, but if he's well enough, and we think now, but remember, 28 years from now,
Yeah, and this kid's
not
young.
everybody might not feel as strongly.
And this
know.
kid's 25 years old. I mean,
Right.
he's got a long
He's gonna
life
live
ahead
for a
of
long
him.
time. Yeah.
You know what? If I had to predict, I'd predict he makes it out at some point. He's 25 years old.
I don't
You're really
think
going to
so.
have him in a mental hospital for, what, 50 years, 70 years?
I think so.
I say we send him on a weekend with Michael Douglas. He comes back and gets the throat cancer. We don't have to worry about it.
Then you want to
another
send
way
him
to
on
go.
the weekend.
That's a unique decision.
You want to send him on the weekend with the woman Michael Douglas was with, not
Yes.
with Michael Douglas,
Oh, I see what
to
you're
get
saying.
the throat cancer.
Justice
Yeah.
Jackson and Godoy. I need a ruling.
I mean, it's hard to say that they can't. It's part of the law. The deeming someone mentally insane, and then they're not getting. No, not that they're not guilty, but that they get a different sentence for it. You kind of have to, and it sucks if he happens to get out. But I don't see it happening. But maybe after you said a generation could pass, and everyone's like, "Oh, when did that happen?" Oh,
Yeah.
everything's so much different now. But you can't, because of the cases when we know someone really lost their shit and they don't remember doing it. You have to protect those folks in a way. not
So
a-
what's our ruling?
Chief Justice.
Yeah, so
I'm
it's-
about
it's-
to. I'm
it's
about to
okay.
One more. Yeah, Chief Justice.
Chief Justice.
Yeah, I would say it's okay too. But the fact that you're taking that chance scares you.
Yeah.
So.
Now, look, man, my emotion, my gut says I'd go old school, right? Like I'd have a trial and make sure you got the right guy, et cetera, and then be done with it. Okay. That's.
You mean you would execute him?
Oh,
You're for the death penalty?
No, I'm not, but because we keep executing the wrong people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I don't mind executing the right people. I got a problem with executing the wrong people.
Oh, really?
Okay.
There's
so
no-
You're for the death penalty in theory?
in theory, I
Well, there's
am,
and
yes.
there's
But you
no
don't understand-
question.
I'm old school vengeance.
But you don't understand what's wrong with that, right? Well, so you know what's wrong with that, right?
Nothing.
So then,
That's why I'm in favor.
And that's the thing. There's no question as to whether or not James Holmes committed this crime. He's not the alleged killer of these people.
Yeah, I'd
Right.
go. I'd go.
He was
Lannister
caught
on it.
red-handed. We know
Yeah.
that he murdered these people. The
Right.
big issue is, was he well enough to make a decision as to whether,
Did he know what he was
was he
doing?
responsible for this? And I think that somebody who tells their psychiatrist 6 weeks beforehand that they're experiencing
Right.
strong urges to commit homicide,
Okay. Yeah, I know. Look, so the guys, I know, but like, if he killed my family, I'd be like, oh, that's a really interesting point
Yeah.
about how crazy you are and how you like to kill people. Well, here's what's going to happen: you're not going to kill him anymore because I'm going to kill you. Okay, and we're going to be done with it, and we're not going to continue to have this debate because you killed 17 people and now it's your turn.
And it's-
okay, but I'm the bad guy. But the reality is, it's going to be a unanimous decision because I'm not going to decide based on my emotion. I'm going to decide based on what the law
Based on the facts.
is. And what is the right and reasonable
we're
thing to
different.
do.
See, we're different. See, in theory, you're for the death penalty, but in practice, you're not.
Yeah.
In theory, I'm against it, but in practice, I want to kill them when they get my order wrong in the drive-thru.
But how do you know it was that guy that got the order
That's
wrong?
why I don't kill them.
exactly.
That's why I restrain. I show restraint.
Okay,
Well,
that's
and-
mighty
and
big of you.
Most I do is
Apparently-
throw a coffee at the window. That's the most I do.
Mighty Christian.
Apparently, James Holmes, that notebook that's coming into question now, we'll keep an eye on it, as it develops. But that notebook has meticulous plans, how he was going to get the weapons, exactly what he was going to do when he entered the
So
theater.
it comes down to the theory
detailed
of
in
what
it.
makes someone criminally insane.
Exactly.
And they have, it's very weird. And if this guy isn't insane, nobody's insane.
The entire, now that the judge has accepted that plea,
Mm-hmm.
the entire trial is going to be about whether or not this man is insane and what that means. It's not going to be about whether he
Right,
killed these
right.
people.